Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to K Culture, episode 7. Today we'll be going over um our favorite K dramas or dramas. Um, that's Cass. I'm Bryson. Why don't we just jump right into it? Let's get started and let's just list what our top five dramas are. We don't maybe we don't really need to explain it. Let's just kind of list it and then we'll move on and we'll explain everything further. So why don't you go first? Top five.
Uh,
I know you have
okay.
a lot. I know you have a lot.
My number one is The Lion, His Lover.
Okay.
And then number two is Cinderella and the Four Knights.
Okay.
Number three is Alchemy of Souls.
Okay.
Four is Startup.
Okay.
And then five is Revenge of Others.
Okay. So actually our top five is completely different, which I kind of expected just because you watch so many more than I have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but here's my top five. So my top five, number one is Our Beloved Summer. Number two is It's Okay to Not Be Okay. Number three, Extraordinary Attorney Woo. Number four is Startup. And five is My Name. Um, okay, so why don't we actually just like real quick before we start, just I have some thoughts just on dramas or Korean TV shows in general.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just jump in whenever you want. But so I find them highly entertaining. I find them um to have better storylines and I feel like um better acting. I feel like maybe production level it isn't as high as some of the other shows that we're kind of used to, but um just on those things alone make it so entertaining. Um I feel like there's a lot of it is kind of a lot of shows that like I watch, it's not very uh suspenseful or it's not very like twisty and turny. There's not so many like, oh my god, like I can't believe that happened, or like you're surprised. But I just think that all these stories are told so well that I buy into the story and the characters so much that I get highly invested by the end. And one of the shows I'm going to talk about, it's only 4 episodes, or but in that 4 episodes I still so highly invested that like I feel so many emotions when I watch them. I don't know how you feel about just uh you know K dramas compared to what we have in the States. Um I don't know if you have anything to add, or what's your perspective on what you watched.
I think when I first watched like my first K drama,
Hmm.
it's just it was just like very different on what I would usually watch.
Hmm.
And then once I started getting into it, it's probably just it's very entertaining. I am a teen still, so I do love romance and
Hmm.
all that.
Hmm.
And then, just the actors as well they're just really good. So that's probably why I like them.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Okay, so why don't we get started and um let's kind of go over some of our favorites. Let's kind of let the people know what we watched. Um, kind of break it down. I can go first. I mean, this one's gonna be really long, so uh, it's a long. This is my favorite by far. Okay, maybe not by far, but it is my favorite. And Our Beloved Summer is so good. Uh, I feel like the I feel like there's some equivalent to what we have in the States is 500 Days of Summer, which is a movie. It's a little bit old. I don't know if you watched it, but it's also like a rom-com romantic type movie, indie type movie. Um, and I feel like there's similar it's similar tone and stuff like that. But I have some notes here just to go over. But the male lead is Cho Choi Woo Sik, and he's the main lead. I can't pronounce his name, but he's so good. And he's Ung. He's the main character. And then the female lead is Kim Dami, and she plays Yeonsu, who's the female lead. And it's 16 episodes. It's on Netflix. Um, it's really good. I Just a little synopsis on the story. It's the two leads, they're in high school. They end up filming a documentary, and uh Yeonsu is the number one student, like ranked student, and Ung is the last ranked student in his class. And they film a documentary because it's uh like they're complete opposites, right? So they kind of want to see um how they would, fare throughout high school. And they end up dating, and after high school they get into a bad breakup. It's a bad breakup. And so anyway, years later, the production company wants to film like a reunion between the two of them and kind of get them, you know, back on TV. But it's doesn't go as planned, right? Because of the bad breakup, they don't want to see each other. Um, but some of the reasons why I like this show is, well, the acting is great. Like I bought in so much into the characters. Um, and there's kind of like the sub lead. I don't know what they call them, but they're like in every episode. And they're very good too. But just the two of them on screen chemistry, they're so believable. And then what I think helps the story along too, it's they are um they're both very soft, meaning like they're not like both beautiful people. They're like
Mhm.
cute and um very like easy to love, it looks like. And um I think that's what helps the story, is because their story is very cutesy, right? And um I like the flashback. So a lot of it, because their story starts in high school and it's filmed, they revert back to a lot of it, and just in flashbacks, and them um being in situations in current day where they kind of were getting back together. And it leads to them reminiscing about what happened in the past. And I mean, like episode 6 was really good. And uh so they break up. And so essentially in episode 6 they show the breakup from um Yeonsu's perspective. And it it's really tough because before like they break up, they go through like a montage to show like how truly happy she really is with him. But circumstances make them break up, or make her break up with him. And it's so crazy. And it's one of it's written so well, and it tells their story with such like high emotion that you can't help but be on a roller coaster. So you're like, oh, like, oh my God, they look so happy. And then like 2 minutes later, like they're breaking up and you're like devastated. But you're only 6 episodes in, and um I really liked it. And then there's like this in the same episode 6, um there is a little there's a little interaction with Yeonsu and Eung's parents. And they just kind of say to her like, oh, it must have been the breakup must have been so hard on you to like hope you're well kind of thing. Um, and she has like all this like pent up emotion because they've been kind of interacting or they've been kind of hanging out. And up until then, is she's been kind of okay. And like once his parents kind of interact with her, like all this emotion comes flooding back, and she has to like go to like this back room and kind of lets it out. Um, and then the story lets the characters breathe so much that they develop so well. And I think that's one of the like I didn't talk about it earlier, but character development in these K dramas, these shows, it's so high level and it's such like high functioning society that it's so amazing. And I think this show in itself like really brought that out. And I mean, episode 11, uh, so helps Yeonsu's grandma home. Like she's at the market and he helps her home. And she basically apologizes to um on Yeonsu's behalf on just because like the way that Yeonsu had to be raised because they didn't have much. They didn't come from like they're not rich or anything. So the grandma taught Yeonsu to be selfish at times, and um, the grandma basically apologizes to that that's just who Yeonsu is. Like she's selfish, and because I taught her to be that way, and if that caused him any harm emotionally, like that, she's so sorry for it. And I'm like, what the? I'm like, what the hell? And that happens like pretty early on in the no, that's the end, I think. Um, anyway, but yeah, like episode 11, I was already like ugly ugly crying, just terrible. And then you just go on and you can see from that point on where their relationship's gonna go, but it also allows them so much growth because it shows that they need each other. And I think in life, just like in relationships, that's what you kind of want, right? You wanna find somebody who understands you through thick and thin and who is willing to be by your side through thick and thin. And that's what they have here. And it's so good. Like I hope that everybody watches this show because I mean, it's not just about like their relationship. It's not about their romantic relationship. It's about their friendship. And because they had like a little love triangle with and Ung's friend and his not Ung's best friend, like, and they like Yeonsu. They both of them like Yeonsu. So there is a little bit of love triangle, but yet they don't forget that they're best friends. And I think at the end of the show, or by the end of the show, they show you that the friendship is more important than letting Yeonsu get between them. And I feel like that's so important. Um, and just yeah, it's so good. And I think just the story they tell, it's so good. And it's definitely one that I will be able to rewatch over and over and over. And even though I know what the outcome is, I would still feel like, like just everything will ride again. So that's my first one. What about you? What you got? Oh, yeah. Go ahead. You don't have to be as
Um,
in depth. You don't have to be as in depth. But
yeah, I'm not.
okay,
um, so my number one is Lion His Lover.
okay.
That one I've watched about like maybe 6, 7 times already.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally just got off of Netflix and Viki, so now you cannot watch it anywhere.
Oh,
Like only in Korea you can watch it, I guess.
mm,
So it made me really sad, but yeah, at least I got to watch it that many times. It had Joy from Red Velvet
mm-hmm,
and Lee Hun-woo, which he's not really an actor, but he's honestly one of my favorite K-drama actors.
mm-hmm,
Like he's the person that got me into K-drama. So The Lion His Lover is pretty much about there there's a K-pop group and
Hmm.
he's the composer, and
Mm.
then he meets Joy, who is a high schooler that wants to be in like K-pop and all that. So she's in a band. So she auditions for that company and she gets in. And but when they meet together, like she meets him love at first sight and she doesn't even know who he is. But like he lies to her about like where he works and all that until like almost the ending and all that, but she still falls in love with him. It's like a cute little K-pop, cute kind of K-drama, but I really love it. It's really great. And it has Song Kang in it too, and he's a very famous K-drama actor now. So yeah, that's why you should watch it. I
And
mean try to.
and that's a little older. That's one that's a little bit older.
Yeah, well, like I don't know, 2018?
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I guess. I think so. Hmm.
Okay. All right. My next one is it's a little bit different. It's not so much a like drama, but it's K2. So basically this one is it's like more political action. There is it's very action heavy. It's um so it's Ji Chang Wok as K2, or that's his code name. His code name is K2. And then it's Yuna, and she plays Anna. And then the main villain is Choi Yun as Yojin. And basically Yojin is the main villain, and she is the person behind the political power, meaning she's the one who pulls the strings and she kind of controls what goes on behind the scenes politically because her family is so rich. Um, and so it's a political drama centered around the daughter of a presidential candidate who is Anna. And basically, Yojin is married to the presidential candidate, and they want to basically like keep Anna as far away as possible from South Korea. So when the show first picks up, she's I think in Paris, and they have her in some kind of like boarding school, or she's basically captive in this place. And um anyway, she makes her way back to Korea, and that's where she meets K2, and essentially they're like the love interest, right? The main characters are the love interest. Um but they have to in order to be around her, he has to protect her because he's basically a security guard, but he's like high level security guard, and he was like former black ops or whatever it is in the Korean military, is like Navy SEAL or whatever. And they have to navigate like lies and secrets, and basically like everybody in the show has lies and secrets that keep them in power. So if something unravels, then the whole system comes down, right? And everybody's just gonna point fingers at everybody. And I truly like the action scenes. It's so good. Um, it's also pretty believable with how they fight. But what's not believable is when K2 gets in these fights, after he fights, he's so there's sometimes where he gets shot, there's sometimes where he's like all bloodied up, and he's like fine. And he just like the next day he's like good to go. I'm like, that's not real. Like you just got your butt kicked. You had a bullet put into your arm. Like, but essentially it is as real as it can get, um besides the fact that K2 just gets up and miraculously is alive after every episode. like there's gunfights, there's people getting shot, there's people getting stabbed. I think he gets stabbed multiple times, and somehow he's living, and I'm okay with it, you know. But um, yeah, it's so good. It keeps you on your toes. Just because of how kind of like suspenseful it is, and just how much action there is. And just like I said, because everybody has a lie, so everybody has a secret to keep. So basically, there's all the characters are like jumping teams, right? Because they want to make sure they're on the right side of this presidential candidate. So yeah, if you enjoy political dramas with ton of action, um, K2's for you. What you got next?
My second one is Cinderella and the Four Knights.
Okay.
That one is so good. I've watched that like 10 times already. Ultimate favorite.
Mm-hmm.
It has a couple K idols,
Mm-hmm.
K-pop idols. Like it has the girl from A Pink, well, former A Pink, and then it has Kim Sodam. She has, I don't know if she still has cancer right now, but I think
Mm-hmm.
she is. So, and then it has get the names, but it has three guys, and it's like a it's not a love triangle. It's more like with five people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like all of the four knights like her, and then the girl comes in and like ruins the whole thing. And then like it's kind of like you just don't know who she's gonna end up with, but in the end you're like, oh, I'm so glad she ended up with that person.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it's just like the ultimate soap opera kind of K drama. Like it has a lot of drama and a lot of romance, and it's just it's so good. It's also kind of old too, so but you should watch it. Yeah,
And where would I find this? Is it
Netflix. Yeah,
Netflix?
yeah.
Netflix. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Um, should we go over our mutual favorites? Should we go over Startup?
Yeah.
Okay. So, uh, Startup, it's 16 episodes found on Netflix. It stars Suzy as
Mm-hmm.
Daomi, um, Kim So Sun Ho as Good Boy, and Hyuk Nam Ju Hyuk as Dosan. Um, and then there's um Jang Hana as Injae, and that's Dalmi's sister. So it kind of centered around those four characters. Um, I feel like the characters are well written. And all of them develop a great story, and a lot of them have, or well, the four of them have great backstories. Like we should get prequels to all of them. I really like the show, and so it centers around the four of them. And I guess Harmony, Dalmi, and Injae's grandma. Um, so why don't you take us through the synopsis? You want to go over the synopsis, or like what the plot is?
Um, let's see. I think it was had love in it, but then it's like they're in this program, right?
Right.
Like startup, like this
Uh,
competition,
mhm.
and then like was it like best company or kind of like they're making a company?
Yeah, they're trying to get a company going.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And
Uh,
then theirs was, let me try to remember what it is. What was it again?
they well the one that sticks out to me is when Dami and Dosan create the app for Harmony, right? Because
Oh
she's
yeah,
going
yeah, yeah, yeah.
blind. But
Yeah.
basically so basically it's a competition, and they go through all these competitions. And just so it's a wild, right? Because Dami and Dosan have a crazy backstory. They don't know each other, right? But
Mm-hmm.
Dosan was writing letters to Dalmi, but it was
Mm-hmm.
actually Good Boy writing the letters,
Yep.
right, to
Mm-hmm.
Dalmi because Harmony asked Good Boy to write the letters, and they just found Dalmi's picture in the newspaper because he won some kind of math competition contest or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? Um, so Dalmi and NJ are separated because their parents get divorced, right? And Dalmi stays with her dad, and NJ goes with the mom,
Mm-hmm.
and their mom remarries some rich guy, and so NJ is put into the CEO position of that company or
Mm-hmm.
part of that company, right? Or like there's a portion of the company where she's ends up being the CEO. Long story short, um, they end up being in this competition for it's basically like Google.
Um,
It's basically like Google,
yeah.
and they're trying to get jobs there and creating their own company. So, NJ is there, and she creates her own team, and then just coincidentally, right, Dalmi and Dosan are on the same team, and they have to work together. Along the way, there's uh, love interests, love triangles, right, and um, Good Boy secretly in love with Dalmi, right, and but Dalmi only has her eyes on Dosan because again, he's the one who wrote the letters to her, right? And but it was
Mm-hmm.
really Good Boy, and if Good Boy in just episode 2 just said, or whatever episode it was, just said, "Hey, I'm the one who wrote you the letters." TV show's done, right? But yeah, it's really good, and we also like it between both of us. We both like this show just because of, or not just because, but another added portion to it is we like Future by Red Velvet, which is really good. One of my favorite songs. But yeah, like Cass, like you mentioned, it's there's like a romance portion to it, but that's just part of it, right? And um to me, when I look at this show, it's more about like self-growth and self-belief. Um, and to work as hard as you possibly can. Just because that's what Dalmi is, right? And that's what she had to do is she basically came from nothing. She had to work her way up the ranks, had to fight through this competition. She believed in herself, she bet on herself, and then she ended up being so successful, being able to help her grandma using the app, right? Or creating the app for basically her grandma and people like her. Um, and I just like how they all four characters grew throughout the whole show, right? And even like in the beginning, I was like, oh my god, I hate her so much. And then at the end, you're like, you also feel for her because she also struggled, right? I mean, she was in the shadow of her dad, and everything was kind of handed to her, and that family, her stepdad held all of that over her, right? So she basically had to fight for everything at the end too, and um basically she became self-made as well. And I guess before we move on, are you team Dosan or team Good Boy?
I'm, I would say Ghost Sun.
Yes, that's what I figured. I am team Good Boy, just because
Mm-hmm.
of everything he did. Like he's the guy behind the scenes. Okay, anyway, um, so that's startup. What you
Yep.
got? You have another one? You want to go over
Um,
one? Go ahead.
yeah. There's Alchemy of Souls.
Okay.
It's 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's on Netflix. It's about, well, kind of hard to describe it because there's so much going on in that show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like it's like back in the olden days kind of thing, and it has like magic and like um kingdoms, but it
Mm-hmm.
has the I don't know if you I forget his name, but it has a lot of K-pop people in it,
Mm-hmm.
like Arin from Oh My Girl and like Minhyun, and then it has the main dude that's so good, but I forgot his name, and then there's like so like pretty much the part is trying to fight her way through all the kingdoms and all that.
Hmm.
So she's like the best fighter ever. And then, but she loses all her powers and switches her soul with someone else's.
Hmm.
So like she switches bodies, and then she meets the king, or like oh no, the prince, and
Hmm.
then like they fall in love, and then it just season two happens. Yeah, but it's a lot, but it's so good.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Actually, not you brought that up. That's like on my list of K dramas to watch, and I just can't commit to it yet. It seems like it's kind of long, but no,
it is what's.
I'm definitely gonna have to jump into it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so okay, that concludes part one. Thank you everybody for listening. Let us know what your favorite K dramas are. Um, let us know who your favorite actors or actresses are. Comment down below. Thanks for tuning in as always. Um, we'll be back part two. More K drama stuff. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.